Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Common Sense Guys channel. How are you all doing today? As you can see, I am here today with the Rational Outlaw, and we will be talking about Nick Fuentes. But I would like to introduce my guest, as I said, Rational Outlaw. How are you doing today, mate? And would you like to introduce yourself to everybody else that doesn't know who you are?
I'm good, and thanks for having me. As people may not know, my name is Rational Outlaw. I'm a political commentator, just a small channel. um, I do political commentary on pretty much all sides. If people want to know my political views, I would say I'm a minarcho-capitalist is the easiest way to explain it.
So what got you onto the idea of, I want to say doing Nick Fuentes, but I think that they may be badgering the witness.
Well, the reason why I first got onto him because some months ago I had never heard of him, and then he just suddenly popped out of nowhere on my feeds, and so then I was seeing some people who I am friends and acquaintance with sharing stuff about him, and then so I looked up about him, found that he has said some pretty racist and white nationalist things, and I was wondering, why are these people following him? Why are my friends following him, or even I was wondering why this was. But I looked at it further. It appeared to be, from what I could tell, is that people just did not know that he was a white nationalist or a racist because they may not have seen some of the clips of some things of what he said, or he says it in such a way that, because he doesn't say it very often, he doesn't say all this stuff
But he does it in 2-hour segments as well, which is kind of the problem, isn't it?
Yeah,
if you want to kind of clip his stuff together, you really have to sit through 2-hour streams where he might let slip something.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of the problem for me. Like, some of the stuff he says is like, yeah, okay, I can see where you're coming from, I can see it. And then, as you quite rightly said, he'll say something, you're just like, whoa, what are you talking about? Where did this come from?
Yeah. And so I decided to make my first video, which got more views than the second one. And so that one I made to let people know who were on the right, who may not have known that he was said some racist and white nationalist things, to let them know, and probably not really support this guy. And so I released that video, and then I later on released my second video with more stuff, so that way it could be more to show of what he has said.
No, I completely understand that. I mean, I kind of got onto Nick Fuentes because I like to try and put myself into the central aspects of what the left is saying and what the right is saying. I like to try and balance my arguments. Now, I'm not saying that nobody else does. I'm just saying this is what I do, which is why I found Fuentes quite early on, but never really had the inkling to do a video or anything else like that on him, simply because I kind of feel that he is what he says other people are. I think that he's a grifter. I think that he's just playing on people's, should we say, prejudice. We're playing on people's minds and things like that. I think he's playing an over-accentuated character. Now, does that mean that I don't think that he believes what I think he believes? I don't know. He likes to kind of break character quite a lot. And when he does, he kind of slips into that sort of a persona, and he kind of lets slip. When he's playing the character, he's very careful on, or at least how I see it, he seems very careful on how he speaks, and then he slips, and then you can get what he really says and what he really thinks, and then he pulls himself back again. At least that's what I get from it as well. Do you think that that's a fair assumption, or?
I don't know. I felt that he seemed pretty serious about what he says. There were some obviously jokes which he would say that were racist jokes that you can, although some people would maybe interpret it as to be racist, but I wouldn't take it that way. But there were other things in which I felt he was more serious about, personally.
That's where I was going with that. Where some of the things that I think that he says it as jokes. I don't think that he himself takes himself seriously as a political commentator.
Exactly.
I don't think that he really goes out of his way to try and be as insightful or try and provide sources or things like that. I do think that he tries to play that type of a character and tries to over accentuate things. Now, again, I could be completely wrong. And before that we do go any further, I do want anybody that's coming into the stream later on or watching this at another point or it being rewatched, I did actually reach out to Nick Fuentes 3 times, twice by tweets and once via some Facebook thing. But I did try and reach him. Obviously, I'm not even in his ballpark when it comes to subscribers or people that are following. So, I'm just kind of a gnat that's buzzing around his head at the minute, which I assume that there must be thousands of gnats that are doing that exactly the same. So I didn't expect him to come on. But for anybody that was trying to suggest that I may or may not have got in contact with him, I did try. As everybody knows, I do try and be balanced and honest, and I would have him come on and defend himself if necessary. But, it is the way that it is, and I kind of wanted to do this anyway. And as you did a video on it, Rationale, I kind of wanted to have you on because it kind of tweaked my interest.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's right. Should we get into your video, or do you want to set anything else up beforehand?
Sure, we can get into the video.
Okay, I should really have set myself up. Hang on a minute. That's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. And screen share, Chrome tab, and that one. That one's yours. Let's do this. Right. Hopefully this should be ready to come through now. I am going to play it. And once we do start playing, it will knock off our... No, it won't. So if you want to say anything, like to stop or anything to explain what you think or why you did the part of the video, then we'll do that. If not, if I get to a point where I want to say it, I'll do exactly the same thing.
Okay, well, I guess I will say first one thing is that these people are here. I don't know what their particular views. I mostly use this video to make it more interesting because they wanted a more creative compilation. So for these people, I don't know what their views are because I just found this interview that he was doing with these particular people. So I just wanted to say that.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, for me, I don't know if you did this on purpose, but artistically, it shows a contrast of how he was in an interview when he's not necessarily in his, let's say, bubble.
Yeah.
To compare to when he is on his own show. And it does show a massive contrast of how he tries to, at least in my opinion, maybe in yours as well, articulate himself in a way that sees erudite rather than just, shooting from the hip as he does on his show.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I will play the video and we will get started. Hopefully the sound will come through.
I don't hear it for whatever reason.
Let me just do this again because I've just realized what I didn't do. It's fine. I know exactly what I didn't do. And thank you, Memes of Destruction. Yes, I am an amazing producer, and I know that you were meaning this nicely for me, but fuck you. It wouldn't be one of my shows if I didn't fuck something up. Right, this should come off a little bit better. So I will play it from the beginning.
Sure, yeah. Well, Nick Fuentes.
Is the sound coming through now?
YouTube show
Yes.
called America First every night.
There we go.
And it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm for America First.
It was better for them too, number one, but number two, who cares? Who cares? Enough with the Jim Crow stuff. Who cares? Oh, they had to drink out of a different water fountain. Big deal. Oh no, they had to go to a different school. Their water fountain in that famous picture was worse. Who cares? Grow up, drink out of the water fountain. It's water. It's the same, and even if it was bad, who cares? Who cares? It's better. It's better in general. We all agree it was better for them. It's better for us. Better in general. Yeah, for him to disavow white supremacy is very cucked and blue-pilled. Totally.
I'm not stopping because of the white supremacy point, but I am stopping with the point of segregation. The reason why I'm personally stopping on segregation is because I find it very interesting that somebody would come up and say, "Oh, who cares about the segregation?" Now, don't get me wrong. I am of the opinion that if you're using that as an argument for what's going on today, then it's a pointless argument. But if you're pointing out the differences that have happened in the past, then it's a perfectly legitimate argument. Again, not saying that you can use it today to say, well, they did that then, so this is why it happens now. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there is a reason why people bring it up. And it's not always to draw attention to what's happening today. So it is important that we do recognize the differences and the segregation that does happen and has happened, should I say, more importantly. Do you have anything to add to that rationale, or should I?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, I'll carry on. Remember that he just said that somebody that rejects white supremacy is a cuckold, basically. So let's carry on from that.
Totally wrong and a big mistake. I get, there's a lot of pressure on him right now. There's a lot of calls for him to disavow the stuff, even from his own side. These people like, what's this guy, Tim Scott, who earlier today was like, white nationalism is antithetical to the American creed. But what do you know about the American creed? And Dinesh D'Souza, President Trump should make a speech talking about the roots of white nationalism and white supremacy. When the did you get here? 1990?
See, again, for me, I know again that he's trying to be the kind of, let's say, out there, trying to be provocative, trying to draw attention to himself. I do understand that. I do understand how you want to try and produce your brand and things like that. But generally coming across and saying, "Oh, Dinesh D'Souza, when did you get here? 1990, so on and so forth." I know that you're playing on the fact that he's an immigrant. I know that you're playing on the fact that he hasn't been here all the time and he probably doesn't know certain things and so on and so forth. I know what you're getting at. But straight away, you can see the connotations that will come from saying something like that. How people can at least misinterpret what you're actually trying to say there. I'm not trying to say that I know what you're saying either. But you can understand the reasons how people come across and go, right, so you're talking about white supremacy, saying how people are trying to disavow white supremacy and how it's a bad thing to disavow it. And yet coming across and saying that somebody that says that Donald Trump, what you should do is do something that explains the roots of it and how you're not a part of it, but understand it, or so on and so forth. And then going across and saying, well, the person's an immigrant anyway, so what does he care? Basically, again, that's not exactly what he's saying, but you can draw the connotations of that from it. Would you have anything else to add to that, or?
No, I completely agree.
Okay, I'm gonna carry. Where did you find these clips, by the way? Because obviously it must have took you a while to put it together.
Well, I found it mostly through actually another channel that actually has a bunch of clips of his. So that's where I got. Well, that actually no. Sorry, scratch that. It was from a channel that I got it, and then 2 clips from a particular channel. And then the other clips, I was actually able to get some from someone from Twitter who was trying to show a bunch of stuff he said. That's where I got most of the clips from.
That's fair enough. I got most of my clips that I've got lined up for later on.
Because otherwise I would have had to spend like hours and hours trying to watch through all the streams.
Yes, and it does take a fucking long time to do that as well. And then to download it, and then just to clip it, or to use OBS and just clip that bit, and so on and so forth. But yeah, no, I use exactly the same thing. I used a Nick Fuentes clip show, the same as what they used to do for Metica or Andy Warski's, or the those type of clip things where they put the best of the things together. So this is supposed to be a pro Nick Fuentes clip that I'm going to be using for later on as well. So remember that. Should we carry on? Was there anything else that you want to add at the minute?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Conservative, a nationalist, pretty much sums it up. A lot of people like to talk about Israel, or they like to talk about the free market, or things like that. I like to talk about putting America first.
Me personally on that one, how are you going to talk about putting America first if you're not going to talk about Well, I know that you do anyway, Nick. So I'm not trying to say this out of the blue that you don't talk about it. I'm trying to say that in this interview, you're saying that you don't, and you're saying that you put America first. But let's put it this way. If you're saying that you put America first, why wouldn't you talk about Israel and how that the relationship is developing and so on and so forth? Why wouldn't you talk about that? Why wouldn't you talk about capitalism, considering that America is supposed to be the most capitalist country in the world at the minute, supposedly? Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't you talk about those types of things, especially if that's supposed to be as pro-American as you can be, because that's the system I put into place? Why wouldn't you talk about that if you are America first and not Catholic first? Just wondering. Sorry, do you have anything else to add? Because I know that I keep on stopping it, but I just have so many questions for him.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
No, man, if Antifa were marching down the streets and they were waving the banner of Benito Mussolini or Francisco Franco, I'd be joining them, frankly. If Antifa was waving the banner of phalangism, if they were waving the banner of Franco, and they were saying, Catholic fascism now, I would join them. I would become a part of Antifa. I would welcome Antifa. Yes, take over the country. Storm DC, take over the Capitol, raise the banner of Mussolini and Franco and, some notable others. I think
Before we move forward, I really want to touch on that clip. And I do understand that there's probably a point of him trying to be funny with it. I do understand that. I'm not trying to say that this is something that he completely and utterly wants to say and actually agrees with. I'm not trying to say that. But if he's actually saying, even as a joke, that he would stick with Antifa because he wants them to take over the country, does that mean that as long as somebody aligns with his personal point of view of, let's say, Catholic ideology first, and how that should be the superior ideology, so to speak, that he would be happy with the whole of democracy in America? Yes, I know it is a representative democracy, a republic. I do understand that. But democracy in itself away from America, is that a good thing? Like, are you actually for America first or what you want America to be? Because if you're saying what you want America to be, then you're not really America first. You're for your own ideals first, not America. At least in my opinion, anyway. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I agree. Because from what he has said, I even think he might have said, I can't say for this for absolute certain, but I think he also said one time that he actually wants to change for it to not be a republic. But I think he might have actually said one time that he wants a monarchy in the U.S. I can't say for absolute certain, but I might be remembering incorrectly. But I think there might have been one time he might have said that.
I know Spencer has. I know Spencer says that he wants something similar to a monarchy. I know that. So I don't really know what system that Fuentes was actually advocating for, because he likes to say that he's America first quite a lot. He's very good at let's say short clips and sound bites of saying America first and all that type of stuff, but he never actually explains what he means by America first. And when you start listening to him, he seems to be more of a case of pushing forward a religious doctrine or religious ideology than he does for any sort of thing politically.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have anything else to add to that?
No.
No? Okay, fair enough. Before I do carry on with his Lord and Grace Richard Spencer, yes, I am being a dick. But yes, his Lord and Grace Spencer. Another pot shot at Nick on this one as well. If he's so against Antifa, as in the idea of when he was against them because they were communists and so on and so forth, for going against America and whatnot, he would switch his ideology on a dime for them taking to the streets and whatnot and taking control, as long as their ideologies aligned with him. I think that really does sum Nick Fuentes up, to be fair, at least in my opinion, that he's not for a form of democracy or a form of free speech or anything else like that. He's for, if you agree with me, then fine, support me. If not, I'll do whatever I perceive Antifa to do and take to the streets and beat it out of you. And that's me paraphrasing. Obviously, he's never said that. But just taking it from that clip, that's kind of what he's saying. Especially if anybody has any idea of how Antifa is and how they try to destroy cities and so on and so forth. yes, I am being hyperbolic and destroy cities. Sorry, I have to try and cover myself. Otherwise, people go, you're just trying to shit on him for no reason. No, these are literally the points that are going through my mind at this point when he speaks. That you're saying that you would support Antifa, even though that you have condemned them before because they were destroying cities.
Exactly.
As long as it aligns with your ideology, that's fine. That's okay. I just see it being really hypocritical, to be honest with you. Especially if you believe in truth, justice, and liberty as the American way. You know, America first. I'm going to be doing that a lot. Oh, let's let his Lord and Grace, Mr. Spencer, speak, shall we?
In a way, it's almost redundant to say that you're a white nationalist. We know that the word nation almost implicitly talks about ethnicity. And so I think if I call myself a nationalist, it's almost implicit in that word that it's, well, you know, America does have a heritage of being a European country. So, but that's...
You obviously, I don't know if you did, but obviously that's been cut up quite a bit. But let's just take on what he says on that one. That so people are following. That if he's saying, and which he did, that, right, I don't need to say that I'm a white nationalist. I don't need to say that. But if I say that I'm a nationalist, because we know that if I say I'm an American nationalist, that implies that I believe that whites should have that nation. If I say that I'm a European nationalist, that implies that I'm a white nationalist. So he's literally saying whenever he says I'm a nationalist, he's saying he's a white nationalist. Don't believe me? Watch the video again.
Yeah, exactly. But I would like to say, though, because not everyone who is a nationalist is like a white nationalist. So
no, I'm a civic nationalist. I've always been a civic nationalist. I believe in the national ideas and platforms.
And I identify more as like a cultural nationalist, not not a racial nationalist, but like a cultural nationalist, in which I view our culture for, in which I want people to assimilate to the culture, stuff like that. Like, I don't care about what your skin color is or what your religion is, so long as you support our cultural values.
Yeah, or at least abide by the laws, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Do what you want in your own home, as long as it doesn't affect anybody, that's fine. Which is why I'm a civic nationalist. But very, very similar on that aspect, without going down the road of nationalism and what the different branches are. The main point in this is that he says, I don't need to say I'm a white nationalist because it's redundant, because I live in a white nation. So by me saying I'm a nationalist, I'm implying that I am a white nationalist. Nick Fuentes is saying that, not me. Don't clip me out of context, motherfuckers. And know what the internet's like. But I will just say, I'm pretty sure that Rational, you didn't do this yourself, as in the how it was cut up. I'm pretty sure
no, it was originally cut up this way. I did cut up a little bit in the sense of where there was a long gap of no speech, but other than that, I didn't cut it up this particular way.
No, I gather that. It seemed that it was already cut from the video itself anyway, the original, not the way that you've done it. I just wanted people to see that we can see that it's cut, and we're not trying to say that that's completely in context. I wanted to make sure that people can see that we're not just going, hey, look, this is obviously completely not true, and this is obviously exactly what he said. No, we can see that it's cut up, but he is implying that when he says he's a nationalist, he means white nationalist. He actually says that directly without it being cut up. I just wanted to put that in there. Oh, let's carry on. I just can't look at Richard Spencer without trying to bow my head in superiority. I mean, to bow my head in obedience. Sorry, that's what I meant. Carrying on.
It's really how I see myself.
You are a racial identitarian. Is it your first approximation that Nick's view does not contradict your view?
What Nick just said, I would not contradict at all. I wish there were.
So again, from the actual white ethno-state nationalist himself, no, I don't disagree with what Nick says. I completely agree. So when Nick says, oh, we can just call ourselves nationalists because it implies that we're white nationalists anyway, Spencer himself agrees with that notion. For everybody. Right, carrying on. Not unless you have anything to add to that.
Nope.
Okay, carrying on.
from more conservatives like Nick, as opposed to conservatives who get excited by Bibi Netanyahu.
I think we would have to, in some way, affirm that identity as real. So I think I'm in agreement there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Nick just said.
Even if we stopped all immigration tomorrow, because the country is, in terms of births, less than 50% white already, things are already destined to be very different, to say the least. It's a very simple task for how to change that, in terms of we could very easily identify which variables have to change to reverse that situation. You have the native-born population or the white population.
I have a really massive problem when somebody says the native-born population and point to somewhere like America. That's not the native-born aspect of America. I know that people are going to really hate this, because I know that I've got a couple of people in the chat that are going to be supporting Nick, which is absolutely fine. But when somebody says native-born, that means that they have a cultural heritage. If you're going to go on natural-born, that means you're talking about what we would call Indians, or, the Native Americans. Because they would be the native-born, because they have more of a cultural heritage there than you do.
Mm-hmm.
And where does the cultural heritage differ? Because obviously you're talking about European cultural heritage. Are you talking about the Polish people that come across in 1930 to 1940s? You're talking about the Italians that come over in the 1890s to the 1900s? You're talking about the Irish that come over in the same period? You're talking about the English that come over in before then? What actual racial demographic are you talking about? Or does it just matter that they're white? Because if you're talking about racial and national identities, shouldn't you get the national identity right before you claim that you have a heritage to it?
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. Yes, I am going to be nitpicky for the whole of the video. I really, really am. I'm sorry. It's just the way that it's going to be, ladies and gentlemen.
Have the foreign-born population. You have to get one of these numbers to increase, one of these numbers to go down. It's very simple to identify.
Why do you have to get one of the numbers to go down? If you're getting one of the numbers to increase, shouldn't you want the other numbers to steady or stay the same? Because if you want them to decrease, that means people are dying, not being born. So I think you should reword what you're actually trying to say there, because that could be taken out of context massively. And I could easily take that out of context, but on good faith, I'm not going to. What do you think on that rationale? Do you think that I'm pushing that a little bit too far, or do you think that actually has some credence at all?
No, I agree with you.
Okay, that's fair enough. Let's carry on then.
Identify those variables and to identify ways to make one go up and one go down. It's a lot more difficult to actually pursue that. But I don't think there's really a big difference. I think me and Richard, there's a lot less difference than people might think. I think it's going to take a radical vision. We have to be thinking outside the box, not in the way that Conservative Inc. is doing. So I think there's some overlap. Maybe we disagree about how long America has to go or what the solution is, but generally we agree on the problem.
So there you go, Nick.
Thank you. This is.
Did you say anything rational?
No, I didn't say anything.
Okay, no worries. I was going to comment on the clip, but because I know it wasn't you that cut the clip up, so I'm not saying that, because it's cut up, I'm not going to. And trying to say that or insinuate that it was you that cut the clip up. But because it was so cut up, I can't really go in and say that that's honestly exactly how he said in the way that he said it. So I'm not going to say anything on that one. But the way that the person has cut that bit up does seem very suspect. That's some of my defense that I'm going to put. You should put the whole conversation in if you're going to do something like that, or at least the context of it. Right, I will carry on.
This is beautiful. I'm loving what I'm hearing. But it's true, though. But it's true. The new world will be written along the lines of ethnicity and race. It's not going to be about ideology and ideas and all that for very long.
I love the way that people make that type of an assertion. Ideology inherently structures culture. You can say that the Slavs are exactly the same racially in parts compared to, let's say, the English. But the culture is completely and utterly different. The culture between France and Spain is so different. Yet you could say that the racial demographics are very, very similar.
Mhm.
You can say the same thing for most of the countries in Europe and how the cultures have changed. So just to say that it's done by a purely racial point of view or purely racial stance is, in my opinion, completely stupid. And
Well, yeah.
I don't use that word lightly either. I do
It
think
is.
it's completely stupid.
It is stupid because even if we were just to look at the white population in the United States, just specifically the white population in the United States, if you go to each state, there especially is vastly different on the coast and the southern and middle portion of the United States, but also each individual state has its own particular subculture.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. To say that culture is completely, I'm not going to say that it's not completely. I'm not going to make that assertion. But to say that race in itself dominates how culture and how society is structured is, in my opinion, a purely false statement. Simply because if you look at the way that racial demographics break up, especially in Europe, place that actually does the breakup of culture, it's actually the culture and the way that people have their ideas and how the formation of ideas were created. So it's actually the ideas, how they were brought up and so on and so forth, that actually moves culture forward. So when Nick says, oh, it's going to be the ideas of race that come forward, it's like, no, you're asserting that it is. You have no basis for that whatsoever. At least in my opinion, anyway. Right, let's carry on with these lovely people. Do you think that they're literally the mirror image of each other? Because especially the way that Nick Fuentes has tried to, I'm not going to say copy his hair, but does his hair. I mean, I can say probably the same thing. My hair is very similar as well, I suppose.
I mean, the problem with men's hair is the fact it can always look pretty similar, since most men like to have short hair.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I just mean they look very similar. They try and put themselves across of these people that, like, generally Spencer's in a suit. Generally, he's normally in a suit.
They like to look more dapper in a sense.
Yeah.
Like to look well dressed. So they're not going to be like the trashy white nationalist look. They're trying to go more for a more seemingly credible person with dressing nicely. No,
I agree. Very, very quickly, on the offensive, do you agree that America is ethnically European? How is that a controversial point? I'm not saying that they're not ethnically European as demographics state. I'm saying that if you're going by native born, then natively it comes from Native Americans. Same as if you go to Germany, the Germans would be the native borns. The same as if you go to the Philippines would be the native borns. I'm not saying that demographically at the moment that it's changed and that that's not a controversial point. I'm honestly saying that if you're going to native born, then you have to go with what was actually there natively.
Oh yeah, and also to further on his point there is that even if the majority of the U.S. is ethnically European, there is the fact that Americans are very different from Europeans, culturally speaking. So we're really separated from Europe for quite some time now. I mean, even the even people who families who were immigrated from just maybe a couple generations ago, they're separated from Europe culturally.
No, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, I do completely agree, actually, to be fair with that. I would say as well, where he goes on to says that Slavs aren't the same racially as the English. I do understand that. I do understand that they are not racially the same. I do understand that the DNA and genetic markers are different. I do understand that. But that's what my point was. That if you're saying that because they're white, that they're the same, they're not. There are racial differences, even in the white race. So when you say you're a white nationalist, what do you actually mean? And no, I'm not saying that you're a white nationalist. I'm saying when white nationalists say that, what do you actually mean? Because white encompasses quite a lot of different racial demographics. I'm just wondering what that actually means in general. But that's all. I suppose I better get back to actually the video. I will come back and adjust the chat in another 10 minutes. actually get through this video at some point.
And the 2% African allows me to say the N-word. So I really have the best of all worlds.
That's a joke. Yes. Man, so you are a wonderkind at getting under people's skin. It's been amazing for me to watch. I love it.
See, that's something that I actually completely not agree with. I'm not actually completely 100% sure that Nick Fuentes actually 100% agrees with everything that he says. I do think that he's a provocateur. I do think that he tries to over-accentuate things and tries to oversell things. So even in now, when we're going through different videos, I do think that he's trying to play to an audience. Does he mean that? Does that mean that he holds some of these views as his actual views? I don't know. But the people that follow him believe that he does hold these views, and that's why we're doing the video. At least in my opinion. Do you have anything to add to that?
I will say that I think he does play up some of what he says a bit, although I personally think he probably does believe, at least in some sense, of what he is saying of believing that the U.S. should be for that whites should be only in power. Now, I think he does play up some of the stuff he says for his audience. However, I personally do think he believes some of the stuff he says.
Yep. No, I can see that. I think that he does believe in some of the stuff that he does say. I do honestly think that, but I do think he over accentuates it to get noticed, to grab the attention. At least that's what I think. That's the way that I feel on that one anyway. Oh, shall we carry on?
Yeah.
What's your secret?
Yeah. Well, I honestly don't know. I couldn't tell you.
You want to talk to Jewy Jewstein, who says, I like the free market. I like capitalism, but I think something else about social issues. That's who you want to have on your show. And well,
before I do criticize this, I will throw the massive caveat in. I can see that he's over accentuating. I can see that he is probably joking. I can see that. So before anybody comes in and goes, but he was only joking. I see that by the fact of him doing the voice and the hands. I can see that. But even going through the point of our Jewy Jewstein and so on and so forth, for then going, oh, well, capitalism and so on and so forth are lend to social issues. You can be a capitalist and have an idea or interest in social ideas. As in, I think that I should be able to give to the poor. That doesn't mean that you're paying taxes. That doesn't mean that you're going off and trying to do other things to do with socialism. It just means that you actually want to try and help people and so on and so forth. Social issues doesn't mean socialism. Just wanted to put that out there, which I think a lot of people get confused with, which is why Fuentes actually plays up on it. And if you're actually taking him as a gospel and honest and a political pundit, so to speak, because, by the way, I'm just some bloke in the fucking house at giving my opinion. I don't try and say that I'm an expert by any means of shape or form. But if you're going to try and portray yourself as that way, and you go, oh, capitalist, they shouldn't have any social ideas or issues, or try and help those people that have it, to me, that just goes and shows that you don't actually know what the fuck you're talking about. At least in my opinion. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, that sounds good.
Okay.
welcome everybody. I'm Dave Rubin. I'm gay and Jewish, and this is the Gay Jewish Show. Today we've got a Jew who is going to talk to us about why the only thing you're allowed to disagree.
Now, I may be wrong, but I thought Dave Rubin became Christian, not Jewish. I mean, don't get me wrong.
I'm not exactly sure.
I know he's not Catholic. I know that, but I don't think that he's Jewish.
I think I heard something recently that he became religious. Now, whether he is or is not, because I know Dave Rubin has his own controversies, but yeah, I did remember hearing something like that. Although I think when he does this joke, he was referring to his ethnic Jewishness.
Oh. So Dave Rubin's got the best of both worlds then. He's gay and he's ethnically Jewish. Amazing. So, Nick Fuentes will just pick on him for that. I have no idea why people pick on gays. I really don't. I have no idea why that's even. Anyway, moving on. Let's play.
Well, hello, Dave Rubin. I'm a Jew, and you know what? Is this getting a little hardcore for you? Oh, I'm sorry. Is this a little too extreme for you? Maybe you tuned into the wrong show.
Her in your daily existence by Jews.
I told you yes, absolutely. You laugh at it like.
How so? Can you?
Would you say that me having sex with my dog is the same thing as me having sex with a black man?
No. But they would both be degenerate.
Oh.
Now, this in context is the case if he doesn't believe in racial mixing.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't believe in it. He thinks that it's immoral and so on and so forth. Now, fine. You can have that view. You can even say that you think it's degenerate. But it's still to go to the point that he would put other people down from it and say to other people that, hey, this is my view. I think that you're being degenerate because of it. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, he's entitled to his free speech. He's entitled to his ideas of being able to say it aloud and express it to other people. Sure, no problem on that one. He's entitled to all of that. I'm also entitled to criticize him for holding that view as well, though. Because what is wrong with racially mixing? If I fall in love with a black lady, or God forbid, a black man, whose business is it if I fall in love with those types of people? Why is it your business? Why does it matter? Why is it degenerate? Please tell me why it's degenerate for me to fall in love with a black woman or a black man. Why would it be that way? I've never understood that argument, ever. Do you have anything to add? Sorry, Rationale.
No, I agree. It's like there's really no point in why that should matter, because scientifically speaking, there really is no differences between the races other than the outside of your skin color and some facial features.
Well, you could go into lung density and but yeah, there are different racial markers.
There are some differences, yes, and some medical differences, but virtually we're pretty much the same.
I agree with that. I completely agree with that. Right, let's carry on, because I don't want to be held up on this bit, because I assume that the chat will be going mental at this point in time.
Typing on twitter.com, race trader. You work for Jews,
Because I do feel like people get more mad at me than other people.
What he was, though, I don't know if any of your audience knows, but that clip was in reference to Michael Knowles he was talking about, I would like to say.
Oh, okay, that's amazing. Fucking hell. Right, let's carry on with his lordship.
It just doesn't end. For the past 4 weeks, it's everybody's piling on, circling the wagons around me. I don't know. I think it's just because I tell the truth. I think maybe because I'm a Christian.
I will let the whole of his version of Christianity play out. Before that we do that, I do want to go back to that. It kind of bolsters my point, or reinforces my point, should I say, that I do think that he does what he does for the publicity that comes with it. He does seem like he's somebody that chases the recognition. Like when he went after Ben Shapiro.
Oh yeah, I definitely think that was just, I think he wanted attention there.
No, I completely agree with that. Especially when he jumps on the bandwagon for gripers and so on and so forth. I thought that was kind of, jumping on a bandwagon. But then again, I can say, or other people could say, well, you're doing exactly the same thing by going after him. But I can understand your point of view. I can. I just saying that most of my reasons for doing this is purely from the point of an ethical standpoint. I don't like some of the views that he says. I don't like some of the views that he espouses. Now, again, he has every right to say anything that he wants to, the same as I have every right to criticize him on those points.
Exactly.
Right, let's carry on and let his version of Christianity play forward. By the way, for people in the chat that don't know who I am vehemently and staunchly an atheist. But I don't care on who or what you believe in, as long as it doesn't affect other people in any way. Believe whatever the hell you want to believe in. But when you say that your version of belief system is correct to another person's idea of belief system, you're literally arguing my theory is better than your theory, in my opinion. Sorry, now I've poisoned the well, so to speak, at least on my opinion. Let's go through it.
There are some fine paleoconservatives out there who are non-whites. That's okay. But again, it's about rules, not exceptions.
I just want to go through the whiteboard with you on this one, because obviously you probably have done a little bit more research on this than what I have. Now, I know what neocons is, but what the hell is a paleocon? Because I know what he says it is, but I can't find an actual definition anywhere.
Well, from what most people say it is, although his version of paleocon is different, obviously, but paleocon is supposed to be referring to, mostly from what I could tell, most people use it to mean they're non-interventionalist and they have maybe somewhat socially conservative views, and they're pretty much the same, other than the fact, I think the main difference from what I can tell is they're not necessarily anti-Israel, but they're not pro-Israel. They're skeptical of Israel, and they are mostly non-interventionalists. So they're relatively quite similar, just a few different views. I can't hear you for some reason.
I muted myself because I'm amazing. So in his version of paleocons, then, if I was, say, a Church of England Christian, would I be his version of a paleocon?
Not necessarily, because it also depends. Well, maybe.
Because I know that he has said before that you need to be a Catholic. But anyway, I'll move on from that bit then. If I was a different color to white, say I was Asian, say I was black, Jamaican, whatever, would I not be able to be a paleocon by definition then, if I'm everything apart from being white?
Well, in this clip, yeah, he did say that they could be paleocons. However, it gets worse than what you'll see within the clip. I think well, you've already seen within the clip, but your audience will see in the clip. And that even if he says that they are paleocons, but he doesn't like them in the sense just because of their skin color. He doesn't feel that they deserve any power since they're not white. So he'll agree that they're paleocons and say that they are perhaps good paleocons, but he doesn't like them because they're non-white.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then he's putting his own projection onto what paleocons are. So it's not an actual definition; it's his definition.
Oh yeah, he's using his own definition of paleocon.
Okay, I still don't know what he means by America First. I still don't know what he means by that, because when he talks about his different aspects of America First, he always goes on to the point of his Catholic viewpoints.
Yeah,
which, fine, maybe that is America First. But then when you look at it goes against what, at least generally, America actually is, at least in principle. So I don't know where that comes from.
There's some surveys even done on like how what people view to be an American, and like I think it was the Washington Post did this survey in which they found, even they themselves, that the majority, like Trump supporters and people on the right, Republicans, all of them pretty much agree that, for example, religion and well, not religion so much, maybe somewhat important, but in the sense of skin color, they don't care about that really. The vast majority of them don't really care. Even the Trump supporters from the Republican Party, they don't really care for that. They just care about more of the cultural and maybe the religious views.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, I like the way that he's let's say offset the two lines that you have there, the paleocons and the neocons. So if you're a neoconservative, you're apparently going to be Jewish. You're also going to be ethnically Jewish, and you're going to be Israel first. Now, there's a reason why people say that he's anti-Semitic. There's a reason for it. Now, don't get me wrong. He's probably, and I'm going to be as charitable as I possibly can be. As I possibly can be. But the first 3 lines, if written by anybody else that wasn't a joke or satire, you would kind of go, that doesn't really fit, and you're kind of being prejudiced there, trying to say that all these people are all of this. And yes, people, I do know, assumption, I do know, but it does seem that way, does it not? Also, the idea of protectionism versus free trade. If anybody that's an actual capitalist that actually supports Nick Fuentes, why? Why would you support Nick Fuentes if you were a capitalist? You just fucking wouldn't. Wars for Israel. Okay, whatever. So apparently the offset that I really wanted to get to was that the demographics actually matter, but to a neocon, only the profits and the GDP matters. Interesting. Those are really the views that you think offset each other, do you? Again, I did try and get in contact with Nick Fuentes because I would love to be able to have an actual conversation with Nick about these views, because they really interest me and I would really like to explore them with him. Again, the God and Satan part of it, you know, my fairy's better than your fucking fairy, in my opinion. But whatever on that one. What do you think about what I just said? Or
No, I agree with you.
Okay, fair enough. I can see that the chat's a little bit more quiet, at least from what I can see anyway, so I'll carry on.
And, you know, I don't think it's really fair that we're going to have religious ethnic Jews, Orthodox Jews, determining the future of the Christian European descendant American country. God is on the side of the paleocons. The devil is on the side of the neocons. I'm sorry, folks. It's basically true.
If anybody ever says it's basically true, it means that they're lying. Just throwing that out there, by the way, people. If you're saying it's basically true, you're trying to say beforehand, well, it's not really true, but I'm telling you it is. Because, you know, it's basically true. They're preparing you for a lie. This is basically the truth. Honest. Like, Espartine actually basically committed suicide. Basically. Sorry.
If you look at the paleo-conservatives, it's Christians, it's Catholics. We're defending a traditionalist Christian world order. We're reactionary.
Right? Would you say that's accurate? You're speaking to young college and maybe out of college and young conservatives and giving them a platform that more accurately encapsulates what they want to see from the Republican Party.
See, what he just said there as a question actually really worries me. Now, I don't really care that if you're of the idea that you need to be a white protectionist. Now, I'll explain what I mean by that, as in where you think that you should protect the white race and you should be able to produce more babies or look after immigration and so on and so forth. But the problem that I have with Nick Fuentes is that he isn't just that. He blames the Jews for everything. Maybe there's a case for it. I don't know. But trying to say that the demographic of the Jews is the ones that control the world just seems a little bit off to me. And then moving on to the fact of immigration in itself is completely bad all the time, forever, kind of seems a little bit prejudiced to me on that one. And the reason why I say this is because of the question that what you're saying is, Nick, that you're giving these people a platform, that you're producing these ideas and those ideas are taken with the young. Now, sure, maybe it's a complete counterculture and that's the reason why people are taking it on. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they aren't. Again, don't know. Haven't looked into it. But to say that you're proud of those, then again, I suppose that if you do actually think that, then you would be proud. So maybe I'm going off on a tangent on that one for no particular reason. But in my opinion, I think that it's worrying that if you're producing these videos and you're producing them specifically for college students and younger, so to speak, at least in the question's directiveness, then kind of worried about that. But do you have anything to add to that mumble that I just spewed?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Fair enough. To be fair, I wouldn't either. I'd probably distance myself from that as well. It was a bit of a mumble. All right, let's carry on with the indoctrination. I mean, let's carry on with the video.
Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, totally. Because our vision of conservatism is much more in line with our generation's problems and concerns.
I will continue my crusade against women in politics. Because it's always like this, and it's so ironic. Women are like, I don't like, when you say, I like, you have to affect the face. When you say to repeal the 19th Amendment, that offends me. That hurts my feelings. It's like, have you ever stopped and considered that maybe if you get offended, there's such a strong emotional reaction to political opinions you disagree with across the board? Maybe that's one of the reasons why you shouldn't be making political decisions.
Hey Nick. Catholicism is absolutely full of shit. Islam is the true religion. You offended yet? Does that make you get a little bit offended? What about the idea of immigration is absolutely amazing and should be forthwith and put forward? There shouldn't be any borders whatsoever. Immigrants should be able to go wherever they want to go. Are you offended yet? When you say that if you get offended by something, that you shouldn't be able to vote, regardless of if you think that they're overreactionaries. Remember, you just said in the last clip, you're a reactionary. That means by definition that you hear something and you give your instant biased reaction to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't get me wrong. I do something very similar. I see something, I react to it. I give my biased reaction to it. But I'm also not sitting there trying to say that if you get offended by something, if you get worked up by something, that you shouldn't vote. Do you see where that comes from? Oh, Catholics shouldn't vote because they get offended if somebody says that Muslims are the right people and the right religion. Do you see how that doesn't follow, Nick? No? What am I saying? Of course you don't. Anything to add?
No, I completely agree.
Fair enough. Carrying on.
That's what I want to say. But what I really said is, Mom, you're an amazing woman. What I really said is, hey, Ma, you're kind of the archetype of what I say women should be. The line is always this: I'm not attacking women. I'm attacking whores. You have no problems, right? I'm attacking whores. I'm attacking sluts. Stupid, dirty idea of.
Before we go on, again, I know that the hyperbolicness of what Nick is comes forward. I do understand that. And he may or may not actually believe all of that. May not. But the point is that he put that out as a video. Other people will believe that's what he says, and that's how I'm going to react to it. If you're going to sit there and say that women are whores and sluts, fine. Your opinion. Your opinion. You will then go on to say that, oh, they're stupid. And before that, you were saying that people shouldn't be able to vote because of their offensiveness or being offended. Does that mean that you're offended by stupid people? Where does the line draw, Nick? When are people allowed to actually be able to vote? Who sets that arbitration of when they're allowed to vote and when they're not allowed to vote? Where's that cutoff point, Nick? Who's going to set that for you, Nick? Is it going to be the Jews or is it going to be you? Is it going to be the Muslims or is it going to be you? Or is it going to be society as a whole? No? Okay. That's fair enough. Do you have anything to add to that rationale? Or
no, I think you said it well.
Fair enough.
Rape is that the rapist is getting the sexual pleasure from.
Bollocks. I don't even want to do this fucker one. I don't even want to fucking do this. The reason why is because he literally just said that the rapist is the one that is getting the sexual satisfaction. Now, anybody that knows anything about rape knows that women or men, pretending, men or women, depending on who is being raped, can actually get sexual satisfaction or gratification, should I say. In other words, coming from being raped. That doesn't mean that they enjoyed it. That doesn't mean that they actually got anything from it and probably are traumatized about it. If somebody raped you, Nick, and you came because of it, does that make it okay? Does it? If not, why does it work that way for a woman? And if it matters that he has then got the sexual satisfaction, why does that even matter what the rapist is doing? Because I know that your argument is going forward on that you're going to say, well, you know, that's the reason why he rapes. Maybe that is the reason why he rapes. But your line of argument doesn't make fucking sense. Though then again, I have cut you off. So technically I'm poisoning the world at this minute. I will continue. Not unless you have anything to add, Rationale.
No, I think we should continue.
From it. Well, it's about power. Well, at the end of the day, it's a sexual act for sexual pleasure. So it literally doesn't.
I would like just to point out, just for happiness sake and for memes in itself, as he says, sexual pleasure from the rapist, he likes to lick his lips. If anybody missed that, we will just go back just a little bit and see if he does it.
It literally doesn't even make any sense why you would rape somebody in a way that doesn't even it's not even about your dick, right? I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? If you're just finger blasting somebody, like, I don't know if you were just trying to be mean or just downright malicious, maybe like, you know, but it's not like it's doing anything for you.
Yeah, like you're not even getting your nut off. You know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, rape a girl, then go home and like jack off about it later? Like, that's dumb. You know what I mean? Like, he already he went to jail for this. Like, and he didn't even get his nut. You know?
I know that the case in which they're talking about, I can't remember the actual name, but the person who actually was the supposed sexual assaultee, the person who was sexually assaulted or raped in this occasion, was somebody who was named Jane Doe. She did a book about it and so on and so forth, where she was drunk and was finger blasted by a person that she spent all day with, all night with, and was, you know, done in the dumpster behind the back of the whatever. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he was arrested and he was put forward, and you know, that happened. To say that if somebody is, let's say, entering your ass, Nick, does that mean that you gave them consent? Is that not sexual pleasure? You know, that type of thing. Could you not get yourself off with that? You know, that doesn't really matter, does it, Nick? Because, you know, it's not really rape, is it, Nick? Just saying, Nick. I do understand that the story itself is bollocks, the one that we were talking about, but the way that you're coming across, that type of sexual assault happens quite a lot. If it was happening to you, would you not say that that was sexual assault? I do realize and know that you go on further into the clip about saying that, oh, somebody wanked me off and, you know, I got off on it, so why do I care? Would you say the same thing if a bloke did it to you?
Or if the bloke or woman did it into your ass, which can be very painful if not done correctly?
Sure. Exactly that. Just because you were trying to put into a thought of, oh, a woman was doing it to me, and, you know, what the hell, it's a woman, so, you know, I'm happy about it. Well, what happens if he was a man, Nick? What happens, as Rationale says, if she was fingering you in the arse? How does it change? Or, you know, should you not be offended by that? I will harp on about that as well, by the way. Right. Carry on. Let's hear the other side of his argument.
And like I said, it's just so not a big deal. You know, if a woman jerked me off and like, oh, I didn't want her to jerk me off, would that like keep me up at night? Would I like wake up in a cold sweat having a nightmare about like somebody's jerking me off? Oh, am I gonna like reach for my penis and be like, oh, okay, thank God, nobody's jerking me off?
So going to your arse then, Nick. Though then again, the stories that are coming out about you and Catboy, maybe you like it anyway, I don't know. But, you know, going to your ass, or a man doing it to you, or somebody that you just didn't want to. Let's say an uncle, for instance, or an auntie. I still don't get what your sexuality is. But anyway, let's say it's somebody that you really don't like, really have an aversion to. Let's say it was a Muslim man. There we go. You can't go wrong with that, can you? So let's say it's a Muslim man that did it to you. Would you be doing exactly as what you said, you know, reaching for it? What would happen if the Muslim man was fingering you in the arse? I know I keep on reiterating that, but the reason why I'm reiterating it is to show you how much of a child that Nick is. He doesn't see things from other people's points of view. Now, again, I'm not going over and trying to be all social justice-y and all that type of stuff. I'm really not, because there are a lot of false allegations, and I believe the Jane Doe allegation was a falsified one, or at least, let's say, over-exaggerated one. But I do understand that those happen. But if you're going to take it from the point of view that this did happen and there's not a big deal about it, which is what your argument was, that, okay, well, it happened and it's not a big deal, then you have to put it into your own perspective. And I know that you were saying, oh, okay, well, you know, a woman did this to me, so it's all good, it's all okay. I'm not going to worry about it. If it was somebody that you didn't actually like a man or whoever, whatever, then you would. And that's the problem, and that's how they see it. It's not just a way of just getting your nut off, so to speak. Do you have anything to add, Rational? Do you have anything to add at all, mate? Okay, I'm going to carry on.
Try and get Native American Gibbs with the 13%. Post results after. Yeah, that's what my...
Sorry, that comes across as the next video that I was doing, which is his compilation. But before that we do go forward with before we do go forward with that, I would like to get Rationale's point of view on why he actually did the video and so on and so forth, and why it was so important, especially for the people that are still turning up.
Well, from my reason of doing the video and from my reason for doing the video before it, was because since I saw some people who I was acquaintances with or I was friends with following and sharing some content of what he was, of some of the stuff he has said, but then where he wasn't saying anything racist in those particular tweets or clips, and they didn't seem to know of his very controversial views he has said with some of the racist things he has said. And so I made those clips, I made these particular videos to show that it's probably not a good idea to support this guy, because that just does not work well for people on the right. If we want our views to be looked at, we don't want to be supporting someone who has, even if he is completely lying about not being a white nationalist, and he isn't, and saying that he isn't a racist, if he is completely lying and just faking everything, it's still not a good idea to support him, because it doesn't look good on us, which to support him, because that just doesn't look good on people on the right. If you aren't a white nationalist and you aren't a racist, the people shouldn't be supporting him.
Yeah. No, I mean, I did this video about the El Paso shooting, about if that he was a white nationalist, which looked like he had a mixture of ideologies. I was saying that we should call out the racism that comes from it, and we should call this sort of stuff out, because let's be honest, most of us will have a problem with immigration, and I'm not afraid to say I have a problem with mass immigration. I'm not afraid to say that. But when you're saying that all immigrants are this and all immigrants are shit, and in one of Nick's actual videos, which is on his clips for the best thing, he compares all immigrants to toxic sewage. And don't get me wrong, maybe some of them fucking are, especially with MS-13 and stuff like that. But to comparing all Mexican immigrants to that type of level just kind of seems, at least in my knowledge, let's go with prejudice. Let's not use the word racist, but let's go with prejudice, shall we? You know, prejudice based on somebody's racial demographics and where they're coming from. Let's just go on the word prejudice, shall we? I can't base my opinion on what I think of a couple of people to describe a whole demographic. I can't say to somebody, well, because you're this, then all of you are this. It doesn't work for me. It never has done, and it never will do. I can never do it. So I'd call people out as you just said, like this for that particular reason. Because if you don't call them out, you can quite easily be associated with, the guilt by association. And by the way, I don't put any guilt with Nick Fuentes of association because he went on with JF Garipi or that he went on with Spencer. I don't put any guilt on him for that. If I did, then all the others that have been on with Spencer or JF would also be in that realm. I'm not that much of a fucking tribalist. It doesn't work like that for me. I purely go on what he says, and I assume that you're very similar on that.
Mm-hmm. Would it be all right if we take like a short 5-minute break?
You can, yeah. I'll go.
Okay.
Through people in chat, so to speak. Okay, see you in a bit. Right. So, does anybody in chat have any questions for me at the minute? Then, because I'll do it that way. Because now I should be able to deal with a couple of people and whatnot. Seem to be working fine for the fine left for a few decades. They did get shit done for a while. That's a good point, Hammond Spud. I'll try. I'll try and address that. I don't know. Going to the absolute extremes seemed to be working fine for the left for a few decades. They did get shit done for a while. That's a fair point. I do think that they did get shit done for a while. They did. I'm not going to say that they didn't. But see the backlash is actually coming out now. See how the fact of let's say the far left in itself now has so many countercultures and so many counters against themselves, including people that are on the left. Look what happened with the Labour Party in the UK, for instance. If you keep on going as far left or radical as possible, you end up pushing moderates away. You don't actually end up getting things done. You actually end up pushing people away from what your points of view are. Now, you can be extreme or play to a character, fine, so on and so forth. You do whatever you want to do. But if you're going to come across and try and say that, oh, well, the extremes work for the other side, then are you not getting yourself dirty in the fight because they're doing it? And if you're saying, well, my argument is simply because they did it, then I should do it. I know that it's cliche. I do know that when I say this. But because somebody jumped off the cliff, would you jump off of the cliff? Just because somebody else did it doesn't mean that it's a good tactic to actually encompass in yourself. It doesn't mean that it works. Especially with people that don't actually agree with your own point of view in the first place and only listening to it in part. Then again, everybody can do what they really want to do anyway. It doesn't really matter on that side of what the extremes are. I just think that just going to the extreme because somebody else has gone to the extreme doesn't mean that your arguments are very set or very, very valid. I'm going to go across and talk about Take Cover's question, which is, what would be your ideal policies in the UK? My ideal policies in the UK, especially coming to immigration, would be a visa point-based system. Have people that come across that are actually going to benefit the country. Now, that doesn't mean that people are going to be completely excluded for lower wages and things like that. But, I don't believe in the freedom of movement. I don't believe that just because that you're in a particular area that you can transfer to another country. There's a reason why countries in themselves look after their citizenry. Now, if you have freedom of movement, then at any one time, you can have a mass amount of people that come in and come out of your country. You can't keep track of what the government itself needs to do, allocate, and the services itself. Hence why we have so many lines at doctors, NHSs, hospitals, so on and so forth. Why the economy in itself seems to be so, let's say, one-sided at the minute, where you have a gig economy at the minute, because you can't actually hold down jobs at the minute because you don't know how long the people are going to be in the country for. So you give them gig economies. I mean, there's arguments for and against. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm just saying in general, that's what my policies would be. Have an immigration system where it's based on what we need and we can monitor what comes in and what comes out, or who comes in and who comes out, should I say. That's what mine would be. Hammond Spud also goes on to say, the key is knowing when to stop. It's possible that the right has learned this lesson. depends on what you mean by the right. If you mean by the centre right, then possibly. But then again, I don't think that they got themselves in the mud to begin with. I do think that the hard right or the alt right or alt light have kind of tried to be this eccentric, should we say, over the top idealism and over the top set, but doesn't actually seem to go and do anywhere, because if you're over the top, then your arguments don't actually have any substance. Sorry, they just seem to kind of fall on the facts of moral pleading. And if you're trying to argue with somebody else or against somebody else that is apparently doing the same thing, then all you're doing is fighting fire with fire and creating a bigger mess. All you want to do is actually argue with statistics and facts and so on and so forth. Or, you know, logical, consistent arguments. Not saying that all of them work, not saying all of them are good, but, you know, that's the way that you should go across. Not the way that you should be so reactionary that you classify everybody as this or play up to the characters that the left actually portray as, which is what I think that Nick does. I think Nick actually plays up to those characteristics because he knows that people will watch him or hate watch him, and a hate watch is still the same equivalency in price than what a good watch would be.
All right, I'm back.
Woo! Woo! Happiness. Happiness. Right. Stop sharing. I don't want to share. There we go. Back to not me being the center of attention because I fucking hate that. Right. I suppose let's do that stream then. The best of Nick Fuentes' compilation. Though, do you have anything to add before we go forward? I'm sure that you've seen some of the questions in the chat if you wanted to take care of them yourself or anything.
No, nothing in particular.
Okay, that's fair enough. Right, let's build you all the way up. Let me know if the sound comes through again. It should still come through. Actually, I should be able to tell if it comes through. Yeah, it's coming through anyway. Right. Bollocks, fuck's sake. Doing well, everyone. Again, processing. Doing well. Doing well. Oh, that's definitely the wrong one. I don't want that one. Again, doing well, doing really well. I don't want you, so remove. I will now sort this out. Talk amongst yourselves. Talk amongst yourselves, everyone. Talk amongst yourselves. Not the sports one. Also, first in chat, if you want to see his PSG is rocking a full and chopping the stars facial. I am though, aren't I? I am. Right, compilation. I want to share the audio of that. Let's do that one. That should now be on. Yep, that's the one that I want to do. Where are you? Where are you? Sorry, let's be having you. I will get there, ladies and gentlemen, honestly, I swear. I swear to you.
Native American Gibbs with the 13% post results after. Yeah, that's what my mom said. She said, you're 13% Native American. You could go to college for free. My dad's like, you could start a casino. I'm like, well, two schools of thought, right? The sub-Saharan Africa.
Right. I wanted to get through the East Asian and Native American, the 13 apparent percent of that. It does say East Asian and Native American. It doesn't actually just say Native American. Now, it doesn't actually go on this clip anyway, and I can't be asked to go all the way through it. But it doesn't actually break down what the differences are, at least from what I can see. Now, if I went through the actual clip, I suppose I would do. But, you know, maybe he is correct. That's the reason why he uses the 13%. But, I don't know. It seems weird that you would want a white ethno state if you're 13% Native American. Doesn't it? Does that not mean that you're not 100% white American? I don't know. I've always disliked that idea of racial demographics. That, oh, if we're this particular race, then nobody else of this particular race is allowed in anymore. Well, nobody is 100% of a particular race. Nobody's 100% European. Nobody's 100% English. Nobody's 100% Northern Irish, so on and so forth. Nobody's 100% of anything. So to say that you want to be 100% native English or native American doesn't work. At least not in my opinion. Now, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. I will try not to stop this as much as possible. I will play this through and let you pick up if there's anything that you want to stop at as well.
Okay.
1.3%. Jordans around. Don't wear Jordans around Nick. That's right. I'll beat the shit out of you and steal them if you're wearing those Jordans. If you're wearing them Jordans, I'm there brushing them with a toothbrush and all that. You better watch yourself. Or if you have an iPhone.
This is why I think Nick is an absolute fucking idiot, and he's actually playing a character.
You say, well, we have to handle responsibly.
Hold on. Come on, dude. I can't let him just go on, dude. Holy shit.
To be fair, that was kind of loud. Didn't really give much of the context, but he's just gone through the idea of race realism and all that sort of stuff. There are parts of it that I do agree with, but there is a lot that I don't agree with. So, yeah, on that one.
Like it's literal race realism. So he didn't just make one random comment. He literally said there was a genetic basis for differences in IQ.
Which is correct.
Chicago is, we've got a worse murder rate than Afghanistan, but you're ignoring all the excellence that happens in Chicago. Like, look at this shitty mural that some black kid from some Chicago public school made. Yeah, that looks really good, Quan. That looks really great. Look at all this Chicago excellence, right? Look at drill music, trap music, people killing each other. That's so epic, right? And you were born of incest? You were born of inbreeding? That actually might be anti-Semitic if we were to say we were going to pop those people off. So I'm not going to say that. That might be that might pose some problems when we look at certain ethnic groups. But
I have no idea what that clip was taken from, so I'm not actually going to comment on that clip at all because I have no idea where the context is on that one at all. I do have some clips that are lined up that do have full context, so maybe it'll be best if I actually just move across and do the ones that we have full context for, rather than the ones that I don't actually have full context. Maybe that would be better. So I'm going to remove that from the stream and do something else instead. Show me where there are tons of people that are 100% European. Most people have at least a percentage of sub-Saharan African in them because of how we evolved. So nobody is 100% European. Just to let you know on that one, take cover. But let me just carry on what we were doing beforehand. Otherwise, I won't. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through what he says about sports. Because the reason why I want this is because he kind of almost lets slip a particular word. And I just want to hear what your guys' opinions is on that word. So let's see on that one, shall we? Let's see if I can get the right thing and put it on. Share audio. See, I'm getting better. I'm getting better, guys. I'm getting better. At least I think I'm getting better. Let's play it.
No, it's Kyle Korver. Is that a player? Is that some sports player? Kyle Korver he is an American basketball player for the Utah Jazz. No, I sorry to say did not see Kyle Korver's big three-pointer, but I bet it was a real doozy. But I bet all the sports fans went crazy when that ball went through that net. Man, that stadium must have went crazy. Man, people were standing and they were yelling.
Hey, Nick, I know that you dislike sports. Does it offend you? Or does it, should we say, let's say, make a reaction happen to you that people like sports? Should people that have that type of reaction be able to vote? Because, if you can react to words or actions that don't affect you, then, you shouldn't be able to vote. Should you, Nick?
Ball going into the net and the team carried into the big victory. And everyone was so pleased with the results. It was such a triumph. The dopamine is flowing. What a victory. What an accomplishment. Wow, what a play. And the athleticism of this athlete is off the charts. Incredible. and I was smiling the rest of the evening. No, I can't say that I saw the big 3-pointer. I don't watch sports. I don't.
Shocker. Anything to add at all, Rationale, so far?
No, nothing in particular.
Okay.
I'll make it a thing. Okay, and I'm not make it a big thing, but I just don't. I just never been into it. All right. Joshua Larson. I used to play basketball, back when I was in grade school. Oh, did I ever tell this story on stream? But one time I was at a basketball program in the Park District. Classic story, classic Nick story. I was playing this basketball summer program in the Park District. And I might have been in 5th grade or something. And all the kids in the whole program were black and they all knew each other. They all went to the same school. I was the only one. I didn't know anybody in the whole camp. They all knew each other. And so the whole game, they just wouldn't pass to me. They were just passing to each other and I would just be totally excluded. And so one day...
Before we go any further, I want you to realize that he's just said that the whole group knew each other but didn't know Nick. And Nick didn't know any of the group. So when he continues with this story, remember that. And remember how you were with people that you didn't know besides the idea of race, right? Just remember that none of them knew who he was and he didn't know who any of them were. But let's carry on.
This is I'm just a big jerk. It's really not like Nick is this courageous champion of the people. It's more like he's just a real stubborn jerk, He just wants to make everybody mad. So I was like, you know what? People aren't passing to me. F this. So the whole game, I'm just walking. I'm just taking my time, walking back and forth. Oh, it's on the other side of the court. Oh, I guess I'll just walk over there. And the coach then yells at me. Then at the end of the game, the coach is like, we just got to make sure everybody's trying their hardest and really participating. I'm thinking, you're yelling at me. What about all?
Ooh, did you notice that? When I'll just play it back a little bit. Notice how he kind of tries, well, he does successfully, to hold back a word that he particularly wants to say. Now, I can only infer or imply what word that he would actually want to use, because obviously he doesn't say it. And yes, it is my opinion that he wants to say this, but I offer it to you as what I think, not what he was going to say, but as what I think he was meaning to say. So let's just watch that again, shall we?
And the coach then yells at me. Then at the end of the game, the coach is like, we just got to make sure everybody's trying their hardest and really participating. I'm thinking, you're yelling at me. What about everybody else? Nobody wants to pass to me. They're not being team players. I gotta be running back and forth like some jamoke. Sweat.
Now, I ask you, Rationale, what do you think that he was trying to hold himself back from saying? You don't have to say the word, but do you think that it's something similar to what I was thinking? Or
I really do, because it did seem like he was wanting to say it.
Now, chat, I don't offer it to you as a given that this is something that he was actually going to say as, as fact. I don't know. He could have been trying to say something else. I'm trying to be as charitable as possible. But when you're coming across as that point, and you watched this video, which I've linked to the whole clip videos in the description box down below, as well as Rationale's video. By the way, if you like Rationale, go and sub to him as well, by the way. What do you honestly think, chat, that he was trying to hide himself from saying there? Because I can only think of one thing, personally. Again, my own biasness, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he wasn't even going to say anything at all. But that's what it looked like to me. And you can all infer what I'm trying to say and what I think that he was meaning. So let's carry on just a little bit further and see if he tries to sort anything else out.
Sweating and panting and running, and I'm just not even like an entity on the team. So yeah, no, I will not be watching basketball and not be playing basketball. That's fine. You can have basketball. You want to play basketball? That's just terrific. You can play basketball, okay?
Now, who does he mean by you can have basketball? Who do you think that he means overall, chat and to you, Rationale? Who do you think he means by you can all have basketball?
Well, obviously, inferring that you could say that he's talking about blacks in a general sense can have basketball.
Especially within the context of saying that he was saying that the whole team was black.
Mm-hmm.
So saying that, oh, you can have basketball, especially with meaning that he was having the context of talking about the whole black basketball team that he was at camp with. So the context would be, well, my team was all black. They didn't pass to me. So you guys can all have basketball. You can keep basketball. Seems logical, doesn't it? At least to me, it does on that side of things. Why I'm doing this, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is not because I want to try and prove that Nick's this or prove that. But, you know, I'm just trying to say in general, that's what it infers. I'm just trying to... Take Cover also makes an extremely good point that I'm going to be bringing up very, very shortly as well. Ooh. Where he goes, I guess we're all part of single cells amoeba too. No, but we are evolved from single cells, as everything was evolved from single cells. But, you know, I suppose that's another thing that Nick doesn't actually believe in, does he? He doesn't actually believe in evolution or science or anything like that, does he? Not at all. Let's share that video, shall we? Let's share that. Let's see what he actually has to say about that. I can't, because now I have to go back, because apparently I'm still a stupid asshole that doesn't know that I need to click a button to say share bloody audio, because I'm a dick. So should be okay. Everything should be fine and dandy on that one. Let me see. Are we? Yep, we're doing that. That's fine. All good. Good. Right, let's play that then and see what he has to say about fucking science, shall we?
Rand Paul says, Nick, do you believe that the dinosaurs roamed the earth? How old do you believe the earth to be? Some say 5,000 years. Jesus is king is greater than Yandi. Okay, gonna have to disagree with you on that. I find it hard to believe about the dinosaurs. You know, look, okay, they say they got fossils. I just find it very hard to believe. Oh, like giant monsters, giant reptiles walking around the planet. I'm the crazy one.
Again, I would like to preface this with maybe he's trying to be provocative. Maybe he's trying to play to his Catholic character. I don't know. But he's also portraying this as his character. So people that are following him will believe, whether or not it's true, that he doesn't believe in the form of evolution. He doesn't understand evolution and doesn't follow it at all, which he does go on to say that he doesn't actually follow any of it. But I just wanted to say that I'm not doing this again because I think that this is his gospel proof or his gospel ideas, but he portrays himself as this. So if he's portraying himself as this, then I'm going to treat him as an honest interlocutor. I'm going to take his opinions as gospel.
You know, they talk about the Bible and they're like, oh, you believe in like magic because you read the Bible? It's like, oh, you believe in giant monsters? Really?
Yes, because you're saying by point of book that the book is real because of the book. People are saying that dinosaurs are real because there's fossils of dinosaurs. Like, you can disagree with the timing frame, for instance. Maybe you can say that they lived with man, for instance, like somebody like Kent Hovind would do. Because even Kent Hovind wouldn't go against the fact that the dinosaurs actually existed. But apparently, you would. I'm just saying, you know, comparison. What do you think on that rationale?
No, I agree with you that that even people who don't believe in evolution and stuff, most of them believe that they were actual dinosaurs. They just believe that we were among the dinosaurs, or the dinosaurs were around at the same time as us, and they're just extinct.
Yes, which I can have respect for. At least you can say that there's evidence for it. I mean, I'd say you're wrong, but I can say at least you admit that they were around. Where Nick, maybe playing to a character, won't even admit that they were around because, you know, it takes more to believe that there were dinosaurs than it does that a book telling a story is right. I don't know, guys. I don't know.
I find it hard to believe. They say there's fossils. I don't know how many fossils there are. I'm not a paleontologist.
Literally tens of thousands. In actual fact, there's almost coming up to hundreds of thousands, depending on what categories that you actually want to go through. In some cases, some people would actually go even higher. But, you know, there are literally thousands upon thousands of fossils. The fact that you don't know how many fossils there are, or the fact that there is a great number of them, kind of makes you ask, do you do any research into anything before you speak, or do you just, you know, give an opinion based on nothing apart from your opinion? Now, don't get me wrong. All of us do that. All of us do that. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do that. But when you're trying to give that information as factual information, it's not really honest, is it? Well, this is my opinion and it's correct because of my opinion. I'm just saying. Maybe I'm wrong in that one. Am I wrong in that one, Rationale?
No, I don't think so.
My fucking earbud keeps on falling out as well, which is pissing me off.
I'm a paleoconservative, not a paleontologist.
Great pun, man.
And I don't know how legit that is or not, but I find it really hard to believe that, there's these like giant man-eating, I guess they didn't live with people, but there's these giant carnivorous lizards just eating things, and I don't know. It seems like a stretch to me. You know, and all these other prehistoric creatures, you know, let's call all the BS out. These giant fish and giant, you know, insects and giant birds and giant everything. What?
This is where I think that he actually plays to a character. Because I reckon that he did hold to the first view. But then I think that he over-accentuates it and oversells it by going, right, let's call out all the BS, all the conspiracy theories. I mean, I could be wrong on that, but that's just the way that I feel from watching it, that he kind of gives an opinion and then goes, right, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it over-eccentric to gloss over the other part for this part instead. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Again, I'm not Nick Fuentes. I'm not going to be able to say I know this for Gospel Weaver, and I wouldn't ever try to. But it just seems that way to me. Though I could be wrong, though, couldn't I, Rationale?
Mm-hmm.
That's retarded. That doesn't make any sense to me. And how old is the Earth? I don't know. H for Hot Boy says, although I agree with a lot of what you say, here we go. Why do you disdain science as much as you do? Lab coat alert. Why do you push so hard on what proves us right? How can we reject something so useful to our cause? My calculations show that you should countersignal science. Just shut up. Just shut up.
But he actually makes an extremely good point. If you're a white nationalist, especially with the idea of what you just did in the previous clips, where you were saying about race realism, whether you believe in it or not, if you're going to spout the idea of racial realism, then you're going to have to believe in the foundations of science for the ideas of racial realism to actually exist, if you believe in it. So trying to say that, but it actually backs up our position, meaning your position of white nationalists and race realists, then you going against science actually goes against your own position. Or am I wrong in that one?
No, I think you are correct, because if someone wanted to, which it's false science to pretty much start with, but if they wanted to show that a particular race was superior or inferior, they would want to use science, something to actually back up their claims.
Yeah. And the fact that Nick Fuentes is literally sitting there saying, well, you know, science doesn't actually help our position whatever, and in a previous clip trying to use race realism, just goes to show you that he's willing to use or to say anything to get a reaction. And as somebody said in the chat, yeah, he is a provocateur, and I think he's a provocateur, and I think he does this, as he says, as a reactionary, because he knows he can get money from it. I do think that he doesn't actually believe in half of the things he says, and he does it for a reaction. But again, that reaction also makes people follow him. And because he gets followed, some people actually believe wholeheartedly everything that he says and actually believes the guff that he actually tries to sell. And I think that's the reason why I want to do this video in itself. Or live stream at the minute, but will be a video eventually. Oh, let's carry on with the science claim, shall we?
Idiot. you're going to get a wedgie. All these groypers, Catholic groypers, are going to come up, beat the shit out of you with a Bible. Maybe they're not even literate. Doesn't even matter. A bunch of illiterate Chad groypers going to come up. It doesn't even matter that they're illiterate. They speak Latin. And
that's exactly how Kent Hovind says Latin, by the way. I'm just wondering if he actually watches Kent Hovind. Because that's exactly the way that Kent Hovind goes. Latin is just amazing. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way that people say it in America. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking things, maybe.
And they're going to punch you, give you a wedgie, give you a swirly, pour, whatever is in your test tube on your face, chemical attack. No, just no more of the science, no more scientism. I've had enough of it. It's enough.
The fact that he says scientism as well, like he thinks science is a religion because, it's a tism. So apparently it's supposed to be some sort of religion or doctrine, is absolutely amazing to me, which means that he will use the scientism to prove his theories on race realism or whatever, but, not actually follow it empirically, which isn't another thing as well, amazingly, when he goes into empiricism. And anyway, poisoning in the well, sorry.
I agree with a lot of what you say, but according to my calculations, let me fix my glasses really quickly. Test tubes prove us right. Shut up, dude. Science is garbage, all right? All the science isn't even real. Don't you even know this? There's what do they call this? It's the, I forget the name of it. It's like this replicability crisis where they're finding, and this is in recent years, something to think about. They're looking back at all this science that has been.
I've noticed a hell of a lot in a lot of his videos, and maybe this is a case of me over-analyzing everything. I don't know. He plays with his nose a lot, and he's friends with Baked Alaska. I'm just leaving that there. Just saying.
Been done in the last 200 to 300 years. I don't know what the span is, but all the science has been done in the last 300 years, and they're finding they can't replicate any of the science. That's weird because the whole scientific method is about replicability, the idea that you have a hypothesis and you test it, and empirically you determine how things are. And we find that all these studies, all this science over the years is just nonsense. Can't be replicated. In other words, we have to throw out all the conclusions.
Does that include race realism as well then? Sorry. When somebody says that because of a couple of things in science may not be able to be replicable or may not have been able to be fuck me, I can't speak. May not be able to be replicable in a certain environment or certain situation, that apparently now we have to throw out all of science, is really laughable to me, especially when you try and use science as your foundation for argument for the superiority of your race.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Anything that you want to add to that?
No, I agree with you.
Fair enough. Moving on.
But to me, the over-reliance on data and empiricism and this kind of methodology, I think it's very much what's ruining our country. I think it's all BS. Science doesn't have any of the answers for the important questions, and over-relying on materialistic explanations, that's what got us where we are. So I think you got to throw a lot of it out.
So materialistic and empiricism got us exactly where we are at the minute, and we need to throw out empiricism and materialism. Interesting. So facts don't actually matter. The idea of demonstrably being able to prove something with replicable instances and carrying on and so on and so forth doesn't actually matter at all anymore for some particular reason, because somebody mentioned something about science. This is honestly why I think that he's a provocateur, why I think that he's just a groiper himself. Sorry, a groiper himself. Because he likes to pick on different topics and then run with those topics and then changes them or doesn't realize that they actually go against his own other thought out positions, apparently thought out positions. I'm just saying, he just seems to be, as he says, a reactionary. Again, though, could be wrong.
These scientists, as smart as they are, they can't even tell us what we're supposed to eat, right? Food pyramid, well, that was a lie. oh, you have to eat, a lot of grain and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And some people say you got to eat like cavemen. And some people say.
Notice how he now says that science says that you need a food pyramid, but some people say now that you have to eat like this, and some people say that you need to do this. This is what you call a dishonest interlocutor. Trying to say that science is the one that says all of this, and then tries to shift in or fit in the fact of, but some people say this. Some people put this in. Science doesn't say that. People are saying that. Different diets and so on and so forth. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add to that at all?
No, I agree with you. And for example, like just to hit on one part, he said like the food pyramid, that was suggested by the government, and the government made it way too simplified because they thought people would not understand it enough, and so then they had the grains thing. So they purposely made it flawed in a sense.
No, they made it too simplified, so it was easy to understand. Like you have your meat, your 2 veg, and a bit of tater. They put it down to that simplification so people could understand. You need your carbohydrates, you need your meat, you need your vegetables, that type of stuff.
And I can't
we have something similar.
Exactly the reason why they had grains, but there was a particular reason why they put so many grains, but they knew it was wrong. However, they put it anyways.
To be fair, it's probably to do with the farmers and corn, to be fair, in your country.
That might have been the reason.
Have you noticed now, since I mentioned that he likes to play with his nose, that he plays with his nose quite a bit? I'll continue.
You can't eat any carbs. And some people say, and nobody even knows. Nobody knows anything. All these scientists don't know anything. Red says, how do you explain fossils, big guy? The devil? I just think it's all bullshit. And what do you mean fossils? What fossils? Have you seen the fossils? Fossils. They say they found fossils. I don't know if I believe that shit, honestly. And like I said all these science people are the biggest, these are the most sensitive people in the world. I didn't say dinosaurs never existed. I said, look, I'm not a paleontologist. I said, I don't really know much about it. I said, but I just simply find it hard to believe that giant monsters were walking the planet. That's all.
Again, another sign of a dishonest interlocutor. If you're saying that you don't believe that dinosaurs existed, you are by definition implying you do not believe they existed. You don't think they existed. By definition of you inferring by saying, I do not believe that they existed. You're saying that you don't believe that they existed. I don't understand how people follow him and honestly think that he means what he says he means. He contradicts himself on quite a heavy basis. I won't say daily, but heavy. Excuse me. Do you have anything else to add, or shall I continue? Or
no, I agree.
I just said I find it hard to believe. I said I think it sounds a little silly. And all these science people, so you're saying you don't believe in dinosaurs? So what about the? It's like, whoa, relax. I just said I find it hard to believe. But these science people are the biggest. They're the.
See, I know I've stopped it again, and I haven't given him time to say anything. But this is the reason why I think that he is a provocateur, because now he knows that he's got a reaction from it. He's now continuing on with the reaction and trying to say, oh, he's done nothing wrong, and all these scientists are the ones that are the problem, and so on and so forth. And it just seems to me that he's just being reactionary here. He's just being the provocateur. Like, I've done nothing wrong. I just said something that was idiotic, and everybody attacked me. I did nothing. At least that's the way that I see it anyway. Again, could be wrong.
The most sensitive when it comes to stuff. I dealt with this my whole life. When I was in high school, I used to hang around with this group of friends, and they were very like Reddit, I fucking love science types. Oh, cool. We'll smoke pot and talk about the universe. These are the kinds of people I used to hang out with in high school.
By the way, I love those types of people because they have the most amazing idea of what stuff to smoke. Because, I'm in the UK, I can't actually say it. But they have the best idea of what stuff to smoke. And you can have the most intense, whimsical fantasy arguments that's based in some sort of form of sci-fi. Like you can have a sci-fi conversation of your own imagination with the power of smoke. You know what I mean? Carrying on.
School, and we'd be sitting around the fire, and I would say, evolution, it just doesn't really make sense to me. I don't really buy it. And they would flip. It would get so heated, and I'm like, look, I'm just saying, what do I have to believe it makes sense? I mean, sure. Yeah, okay, maybe it's true. I'm just saying I find it hard to believe.
This is why I say that he doesn't actually believe in evolution, because he's said that he doesn't believe in evolution. He literally just said that, oh, well, I said that I don't believe in evolution. Now, personally, I think he did that to get attention, even back then when he was younger, because he wanted the attention on him. And, if you're getting attention where people are shouting and arguing with you, it's still attention. Like a naughty child wants the attention of their distant father or distant mother, so they'll always play up for them.
Well, yeah, that's what children will do. Like, but they find some negative attention, just still attention.
Exactly. Again, my opinion. I may be wrong. It's an opinion. Exactly how he says. I just believe it. I'm not implying anything by it. I just believe it to be true. Right. I'll move on to another science one. I don't know how long that you've got left, because I know that it's during the day and whatnot. Wasn't it created by some farm lobby? Yes, it was. It was to do with the grains. That's why I said it. The nose thing is allergies. He complains all the time about his dog. Definitely not cocaine. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Right, I've got another one that I will set up for everyone to see. Application Chrome stuff. Love coats in locker with facts apparently. Oh bollocks! I didn't do the thing again. Jesus fucking Christ! You'd think one day I would actually learn how to do this stream thing, wouldn't you? You'd actually think I'd learn how to do it. Like even a chimpanzee would actually be able to learn how to do this before I actually learn. For fuck's sake, I didn't do it again. For fuck's sake. Concentrate on doing it rather than actually talking about it. I will. Right, there we go. I've now done it. I know I've done it, so it's all good. There we go. So this is another one to do with science and everything else like that. So let's see what he says on this one. It's only for another 5 minutes, and then we'll probably end the stream on that occasion. Though I will ask the chat to give me any questions or anything else that you want for me to ask or answer, rather. And the same thing for Rational. I'm sure he wouldn't mind asking a couple of questions as well. Right. With that being said, let's get on to science, apparently, because, science doesn't exist and, it's not empirical or something of that description.
Reluctant Realist said, Nick, does the Earth orbit the sun? Yes! Yes, it does. It doesn't matter. What does it matter if the Earth revolves around the sun or vice versa? I think it's all relative anyway.
No, it matters a hell of a lot, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to calculate gravity and the forces of gravity and how it influences our planet and so on and so forth. Everything that we'd be able to do with satellite technology and so on and so forth would be completely and utterly wrong. But, it's all relative, because I don't understand science. Sorry about that. I managed to get to 11 seconds. I did well. I'm proud of myself. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I agree with you there.
And we don't even know if the Earth is round, so forget it.
Notice how he literally just contradicted himself. At the beginning of this little video, which I can quite easily play again for the 15 seconds, he says that, yes, the Earth is round, but it doesn't matter because it revolves around the sun. I'm just saying consistency would be nice.
This Wignat came onto the stream the other day and he's like, Nick, do you believe that the sun, or rather, do you believe that the Earth revolves around the sun? And I'm like, I don't know. And like probably the Earth revolves around the sun, but I don't know. I'm not an astronomer. Okay. I don't, Do you think I like went into the textbook and was like, yeah, there it is, the Earth? I looked into my little telescope. The star is over here, and that one's over there, and I didn't go. Whatever. Okay, it revolves around the sun. Whatever. Do you think that affects me in my daily life? But
yeah, massively. You wouldn't be able to do your streaming service for a start if we didn't know if the Earth was revolving around the sun, or even if it was flat or circular. Well, spherical. Well, an oblate spheroid to be correct, but pedanticism doesn't really become me. Again, it does seem that he says probably a lot in this, because I think that he actually comes across to the point of, look, I can't really produce this too much because then the rest of my ideas will then get debunked all the way through. And by debunked, I mean buffed, debuffed, pushed to a side. Because, if you don't even believe in the Earth is round or so on and so forth, then how could you have any sort of coherent questions or answers or ideology? But, again, that's an assumption, and that's obviously trying to say that you can't have a conversation if you believe in a certain way. Probably. But in a way that where people have that idea, it's because if you don't already have the idea of how the world's basic functionality is, then how could you understand the complexity of economics or the complexity of the idea of immigration, the complexity of government? If you can't even understand that the Earth is round and revolves around the sun, or even willing to give that as a basis, it just seems all false and fake in his ideology. At least in my opinion, again.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, no worries.
I hate pretentious science people who are like, you don't believe in evolution? You don't believe in this? What are you, an idiot? It's like, no, I just don't believe everything that's told to me at face value just because everyone else believes it.
Again, a point of a dishonest interlocutor. I do not believe things because it's been given to me and taught to me. In the previous science video, I don't know anyway. So has an opinion, bases his whole life and ideology on that opinion, but yet won't do research on the actual topics he's talking about, because he says he hasn't by the last part of the video and this part, and then goes on to say, well, because somebody told me, I don't want to believe it. I mean, what the fuck do you do with somebody like that? What do you think that we should do with somebody like that, Rationale? Do you think that we should listen to this person and believe everything that they say, or should we only take it not at face value?
That we shouldn't definitely perhaps believe everything they say.
I agree. But I do find that interesting. I don't believe everything that everybody tells me. Okay, so that means that you must go on some sort of form of empiricism then. You go and do your research, you go and put things and stack up your opinion, and you'll be able to falsify an opinion. No, I don't believe in empiricism. Okay then. How do you base your opinion? I just think that. I just think it. Okay. Moving away. Carrying on.
People forget that science has believed dumb stuff that wasn't true forever. They tell us something different every week.
They don't tell us something different every week, but I will say that science did believe things that they didn't now do believe in, or didn't, or do, or, they believed something beforehand, they had more evidence, and they changed their opinion on it. The thing is with science is that just because that you assert something, you go by the evidence that's given to you. So at that point, you can say, I don't know, that evolution doesn't seem to be correct. And then you get to a point of, well, there's so much evidence that proves that this theory is correct that we're going to put it as a theory and actually put it down as the most backed up evidential theory that has ever been challenged or produced in science. But yet, I'm not going to do any research into it because I just base my opinions on my own opinions. Because, empiricism is for cucks, apparently. But, I'm going to follow this guy because he makes me laugh or says something that I kind of agree with every now and again.
Week it's, this is good for you. The next week, this is bad for you. One week, red wine is good for your heart. No, it's very bad for your heart. Oh, dogs' tongues are cleaner than people's. No, actually, they're very dangerous. They don't even know what lightning is. I often have these questions where I'm like, well, what is lightning? What's the process there? Well, it's largely a mystery.
Two different questions. You asked what lightning was, and then juxtapose. Then you added the caveat of, well, how is the process formed? Now, correct. We don't actually know how the electrons or electrical particles actually produce a charge to produce lightning in itself, but we know lightning is a form of plasma. So we do know what lightning is, but we don't know what the process is. But those are two different questions that you threw into one point. But hey, I suppose that you did your own research, or God did it or something. Sorry, guys. I will make this the last video, which is only another 2-3 minutes.
Why do I get sometimes I get a canker sore? I go, why do I get a canker sore? We don't know. Okay, why do we sleep? What's that all about? Oh, nobody knows. Okay, so you don't
Google, why do people sleep? I won't do it now because there's no fucking point. Google, why do people sleep? People know why we sleep. To recharge energy, recharge batteries, and to shut down it's to be able to process what's happened during the day and so on and so forth. But there are other reasons why we sleep. To say that we don't know why we sleep is completely and utterly false. But that would also mean that you have some sort of form of honesty when you're interlocking with people or discussing things with people. But hey, that's just an opinion. Sorry, I am rattling through this quite a bit. Do you have anything to add?
Well, no, we already know why we sleep, that we know why that happens and everything.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, let's carry on.
Really, you don't know anything then, do you? But you're going to get on my case because I don't take it as the gospel truth that you say that we're revolving around the sun. What difference does it make? What difference does it make? It's 93 million miles away, or it's in some glass sphere in the middle of hollow earth. It doesn't matter. I'm getting Big Mac and I'm coming home and I'm doing the show. What difference does it make?
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference.
Don't trigger me with that lab coat talk. Talking about orbits and sun and earth. Whatever the Bible says, that's my belief. The Bible.
Oh, there we have it then. I'm not going to do any research whatsoever, but I'm also not going to listen and believe to what you say because you said it. But I'm going to go with whatever the Bible says is gospel truth because the Bible said it. That seems logically consistent, doesn't it? Or at least that's my opinion. What do you think on that rationale? Do you think I'm blowing that out of proportion a little bit, or?
No, I agree with you.
Okay, no worries. Carrying on.
The Bible has a stronger track record than these fags in lab coats. My test tube says this. I went in the laboratory and I wrote in my little notebook. I looked at this little petri dish and it says that the moon is actually. Yeah, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, Nick. About 2, 3, 4, 5,000 years ago. Well, sorry, about 2,000 years ago. I ended up writing a book. I was talking about a particular person that I idolized, that I thought was a prophet, that, I thought was the Son of God. But, I wrote it down in my book. Do you believe me? Oh, you do? That's interesting, isn't it?
You don't know what you're talking about. The Bible is more real than whatever fag experiment you did, idiot. Hyman Protector says science is gay. Ever heard of the Bible, retard? So true. They're like, oh, Bible thumpers. That's right. We're going to thump your stupid fat head with the Bible. We're going to smash your brain in with the Bible, idiot. They're like, well, the intricacies of the brain are like, oh, look at all these neurons firing. Bam! No more neurons firing now that you got little pieces of skull inside your brain. Well, the frontal cortex, bam! Now you got skeleton, you got bone inside your frontal lobe. Yeah, idiot. Why didn't you just pray? So, yeah.
So, for somebody that likes to say, wow, I don't believe in what you say because you're saying it, and I don't have to believe in what you say just because you've said it. Believe in the Bible. Otherwise, I'm going to beat you. Now, again, I do know it's hyperbolic, but I'm going to beat you with it. You should believe in the Bible because the Bible says it. But don't believe in what science says, because science hasn't done any empiricism, hasn't done any empirical testing, or something that you can repeat for yourself to prove it to yourself. But, you know, the Bible is raw because the Bible. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is not going to be a stream about let's destroy God, let's destroy atheism, or anything else like that. It's not that type of stream. I'm trying to point out the fact that you say that you don't believe in something because you don't have to take it at face value. And then a couple of seconds later, in the same sentence, on the same structure of video, you go on to say, well, I'm going to believe in this instance because the Bible says so. I just find that hypocritical. I just find that hypocrisy in and in itself. Again, a sign of not an honest interlocutor, in my opinion. Do you have anything else to add to that? I didn't know if you were religious or not, Rationale.
Well, I don't have any particular. What I do is I don't follow organized religion. I'm a deist. I don't know if you know what deism is.
I know what deist. You believe in a creator God that created and then left everything to itself.
Yes.
Yeah. I do understand. I have no problem with people and their beliefs. I have a problem with hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
If you're saying that, all right, I believe that if you tell me these things, that I'm not going to believe you because it's on face value, but I'm going to believe the Bible because the Bible says. I just find that just pure hypocrisy.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm a deist, is because you can't just trust a book just because it's in a book.
Yeah,
there has to be facts behind it.
Yeah. Again, not going to be a theist atheist type of stream. I just find the idea of I'm not going to believe in what you're saying because you said it, but I'm going to believe the Bible. I just find that hypocritical. Mm-hmm. And to destroy the idea of empiricism because you want to keep your book going, it boggles my brain when you're trying to argue political facts and political structures, but you have to go on everything that the Bible says. Because if you're just going on what the Bible says, how can you structure anything on empirical evidence if you don't believe in empirical evidence?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I just find
even people who say they don't believe in evolution will try to use, in some sense, scientific evidence to try and prove their point, at least.
Interlocutor. Sorry, people don't understand what I mean by interlocutor. It means somebody that you're having a dialogue with. As in, Nick Fuentes would be trying to interlock with his actual subscribers and people that are watching him. Like I'm trying to interlock with you. I'm trying to have a conversation with you and so on and so forth. That's what interlocker means. But, sorry, I just wanted to have a quick look at that. Does anybody in the chat have any questions for me or Rational Outlaw? I will try and sort things out. James Thompson, I am the host. I am the host. Yes, interlocutor is an actual word. If you don't believe me, Google it. That's what it's there for. Interlocutor, not interlocker. Happy days. I'm being trolled. I'm sure I'm being trolled. It's interlocutor. Interlocutor. Anyway, does anybody else have actual questions for me or Rational Outlaw? Just type in the chat. Yes, please. Just type in the chat. Any questions? If not, we will get things out and off, and that way we can end up going home. Am I gay? No, I'm not gay. I'm straight. My missus is laying in bed waiting for me at the minute. I will let Rationale answer the other one if he chooses to.
Is global warming Israel? Well, yes, global warming is real. However, I will say that whether how much we affect it, that's a question I cannot say for certain. But anyways, I'm not going to deny global warming. I don't deny it, but I don't think the government should be used to to try and solve that, because for one, the government is terrible at a lot of things, and that's one thing I don't think they could be able to solve. And two is that just creates other problems. The government is not the solution, even if whether we believe in global warming or not. The government isn't the solution.
No, I completely agree with you. Innovation would be able to go through it.
And if the question was, "Are you gay?" was that directed just only at you, or was that also directed at me?
I think it was for both of us.
Well, yes, I am gay, if that person was asking.
Yeah. Interesting. Right. The next one is from Scott Stolte. Sorry if I pronounced the name wrong. What do you think about religion? What do you think should happen to people who don't think all science is real? What do I think about religion? I don't really care, to be honest. If you want to believe in something, believe in something. I don't have a problem in that. The only problem I have is when you try and use your religious ideologies or religious thinking to dictate to others what they should and shouldn't do. Like, for instance, gay people should be stoned or stuff like that. I have a problem with that aspect. Or people should be persecuted or denigrated because of that. I have no idea why you would want to be fair.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I agree with your point there.
What do I think should happen to people who thinks also? What do you think should happen to people who don't think all science is real? I don't think anything should happen to them. I have no problem if people don't believe in all the science or even understand all the science. The problem I have is that if you're going to say that you have a better system, as in God is true, God is this, then you need to prove that it's better than the system that we already accept or hold to. Hence why religion was what we began with, and then science has taken over, because we can describe our world more fluently and more to a point and direct with science than we can with religion.
Agreed.
Do you think of a man's naughty hole when you have sex with your girlfriend? Every single time. I love the pooper scooper. Don't project, James. Science is not flawless. No, I know it's not flawless. Angel Robinson.
Oh yes, Jack. Science can be used to lie, but that's with a lot of things. Facts can be misinterpreted or skewed to fit a narrative in which they will leave out certain things. So they'll, in a sense, basically cut a clip of it and just use that to fit their narrative. Like how people can just fit a video to fit their narrative, taking things out of context. So yes, science can be used. However, that doesn't mean that science isn't correct. It just means you have to use it correctly and not use it in a way that's just trying to fit your narrative. You have to give the full picture.
Yes, you can't skewer your results, for instance, like some scientists did, like the Pete Body Man up in England about evolution and things like that, because it was actually science that pointed out that that wasn't actually part of the evolutionary train, and actually was to change all of that sort of stuff. Science in itself is not always correct. The process of science is, though. The process of science of being able to check, to be able to replicate, and to be able to reproduce is what science is. The information that comes from that may not always be correct, because we may not have all of the information. We may not have all of the variables. Hence why science always evolves.
Oh, yeah. Or there might have been like problems with maybe studies, maybe something messed with the study, or a bias might have gotten in the way, and that could affect also the data. So it could mess up with the
data. But seeing is not believing. Okay. Science knows it isn't perfect, obviously. Do you agree that, scientifically speaking, homosexuality is unhealthy? Depends on what you mean by unhealthy. Do you mean that it's not going to be able to procreate, as in reproduce? Then sure. It's not really designed for that. It's designed for pleasure and fun, apparently. I wouldn't know. Well, I would do, because I think of the butt scooper. But apart from that, if you mean unhealthy as in to have anal sex and so on and so forth, no, it's not unhealthy at all. Now, if you mean degenerate, then no, also not. So please clarify what you mean by unhealthy. Did you want to have a go at that one, or are you okay with that answer?
If he's just trying to say whether it would be meaning degenerate, no, there's really nothing there, because if we were to argue, if we were to use the natural fallacy, like just because it's not natural doesn't mean it's wrong or
But
bad.
it is natural, though. You can find it in every single
yes, but
animal
I'm
species.
trying to say in a general sense that men are biologically made to mate with females. In that sense, I'm just going to go off of what they would say. But in that sense, whether it's natural or not is not what's important. Whether something is actually hurt someone or affect other people.
Sure. Don't you have faith in anything then? I presume that is directed to me. Depends on what you mean by faith. Do you mean, do I have any sort of idea of spiritualism? I have my own ideas of spiritualism. Do you mean, do I have any sort of faith in a creator God? Then absolutely not. I'm completely atheistic on that terminology. Do you mean, do I have faith in anybody or anyone? Of course I do. I wouldn't be human otherwise. So yeah. The True Grave, what does this have to do with Nick? None of this has anything to do with Nick. I just asked the chat if they had any sort of questions for me and Rationale, simply because I'm an honest person, and if you wanted to ask me any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. But if you specifically want to ask me about Nick Fuentes rather than questions in general, then by all means, please do. But the people themselves seem to be asking the questions in which they want to ask. I assume by asking people, would you ask any questions? I presume it would have been about the video. But then again, presuming also means you're assuming, and that makes an ass out of you and me. So, you know, that's the way that goes. James Thompson obviously clarified the disease transmission, anal cancer, mental health. The actual act of homosexuality in itself doesn't seem to have any adverse effect for mental health. Anal cancer itself is to do with the rupture of the anal passage. It has nothing to do with the actual act itself. You could actually get the anal cancer or other sort of things from doing it with your partner. It's not the actual homosexuality that does it. It's actually the anal rupture of the anal suture that actually does that. As for disease transmission, most things have disease transmission.
Well, yeah, and also just to clarify on the disease transmission, what I have actually looked into it, and although it is a greater chance through anal sex of transmitting sexual diseases, it's not an extraordinary amount. It's not like 100,000 times more likely to transfer a sexually transmitted disease through anal sex rather than vaginal sex. It's like, although it is a lot greater in sense percentage-wise, however, it's still very small. So it's to say that it's somehow wrong because it's great, it has a greater chance is not a very good argument there. Because the difference, if you look at the actual percentages, is not very, very extraordinarily large. It's like saying, for example, I did a video on Adam Ruins Everything, in which he tried to say that bacon causes cancer and all that, and it's making this bacon and other processed foods to be out this evil thing that's going to give you cancer, in which he did not explain the fact that it does increase your chances of getting cancer, but the chances of it increasing it is so minuscule that it's nothing compared to cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
And so my point is that anal sex is the increase the chances of getting a sexually transmitted disease through anal sex is not so extraordinarily different from that of vaginal sex. It is greater percentage-wise, but it's not such an extraordinary extent that it would be anything extremely a major problem in the sense. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't wear protection or should just go fucking whoever you want. That's not what I mean. You should always have protection and you should always play it safe.
You should definitely always have protection, whether you're fucking a guy or a female. Yeah. Always, regardless. So you are ignorant. Transmission of disease is much higher through gay sex, anal cancer much higher, etc. I'm not ignorant. I've actually done quite a lot of different research on this because I used to have a lot of discussions with Black nationals about this because, surprisingly enough, they actually have very, very similar ideals to you guys, or, you know, the opposite of what a Black nationalist is. But with the transmission of disease, you could be right. Could be right on that one. I mean, as Rationale said, it does seem to be negligible in most cases, especially nowadays, how things have massively changed. But with the idea of anal cancer, it depends on what you mean by anal cancer. As I said, most of it comes through anal rupture or splitting, as in bleeding and so on and so forth. But again, the actual act of anal sex then isn't technically unhealthy. The results of different aspects of it is, but regardless, not really part of the stream, to be fair, and can't be asked to answer any more questions on that one. Nick believes in God, so he now's trying to push his superior morals on others. Don't think anybody actually said that, and I don't think I actually ever implied that. The actual whole point of the end of the video is when he was saying about the Bible and so on and so forth, wasn't about the idea of, oh, he's religious, so he's pushing his morals or views or whatever. It was simply to say that you do not take things on face value from other people's because you don't want to believe in it, but yet you believe on the Bible simply because of the Bible. It has nothing to do with what he believes in that aspect of God, but the way that he goes to rationalize his worldview. That's all. Red Feather says, what do you think about them changing the law in California to a misdemeanor if you knowingly transmit AIDS to someone? I think that it's completely unheard of. And I think that if you intentionally are giving AIDS to somebody and you don't disclose that, then I think that it shouldn't just be a misdemeanor. You are literally trying to, well, it's not a death sentence anymore, because if you get treated, then it's fine. You can live through it and so on and so forth. But it's definitely a life-changing event and definitely should be considered more of a federal, let's say even to a point of assault. You know, that type of situation. It's definitely not a fucking misdemeanor, in my opinion, to knowingly transmit AIDS to someone without giving them knowledge.
I will agree in the sense that I definitely think it was disgusting of California to reduce the reducing it to misdemeanor, because that I found absolutely disgusting to do, because you are intentionally destroying someone's life and making them have to pay for a very expensive drug. So you're ruining them not only physically, but also financially. And so that's should be a very harsh sentence with intentionally spreading a sexually transmitted disease like AIDS.
Sure. I really want to well, actually, no, I'm going to highlight it so the whole of the stream can see this. Nick also says he likes white Catholics and we need more of them, and people call him a racist. Well, let's put this into context. Why would you say white Catholics? If you believe that your ideology is superior in the idea of religion, why do they need to be white Catholics? Why can't they be Hispanic Catholics or black Catholics? Why do they specifically have to be white Catholics? That means that you are picking out a race, prejudging the rest of the races, and saying that you want a particular race to be a particular ideology. You are by definition trying to exclude other races based solely on their race. So how is it not racist? Do you know anything about reactionary? Apparently not. I'm sure that you can tell me about what reactionary honestly means, can't you? I know many Hispanics are raised. Well, some of them are, to be fair. I know many Hispanics are Catholics. They changed the law for the people who actually want to get AIDS, get love morals of Californians. Yeah, because there was an epidemic of people knowingly trying to chase getting AIDS, apparently. I do remember the story. I do realize why they kind of changed it on the idea of discrimination from it. But, you know, I still think it was disgusting that they did it. So on and so forth. Right, ladies and gentlemen, if you have, I'll take one more questions from you guys. I'm sure that Rational Outlaw won't mind taking one more. But let's try and bring it back to Nick Fuentes and that sort of aspects. But you can ask one more question. But I am specifically asking for Nick Fuentes' questions. But if you have any questions, ask. After that, I will be ending the stream. So if you do have any questions, let me know. If not, then I can end the stream early and actually go to bed. Do you have anything else that you'd want to put out at all, Rational, like your YouTube channel or something like that, or plug yourself and what you do and so on and so forth? Because I'm sure there'll be different people that are watching it now compared to what there was at the beginning.
As you know now, my name is Rational Outlaw. I have a YouTube channel by my same name, Rational Outlaw. So you can follow me there, or on Twitter, Rational Outlaw, Facebook, and all sorts of different social media. So you can find me there. I make political commentary videos on multiple different issues and in multiple different sides. Because I'm not afraid to attack my own side, because I will attack the people on the right who I disagree with, and I will attack the people on the far left. I will also attack people on the center. Yeah. It doesn't matter what side they come from or what religious belief or anything like that. If I feel like it's all bullshit, I will call out the bullshit.
Which is what I tried to do as well. So I'm completely with you on that one.
And but if you want to know what exactly my political views in a more general sense, I'm a minarcho-capitalist. That is a very short definition of what I am, basically politically.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm what you would call an English conservative, though I suppose I'm more of an actual English liberal. I'm kind of right bang in the middle. I like the idea of capitalism and all that sort of stuff, but I also like the idea of social programs, not socialism. There is a difference. But yeah, those were kind of what mine is. It doesn't look like we've had any serious questions apart from Red Feather that says, what's your favorite kind of ice cream? I've already answered, but Rational, do you have favorite ice cream?
I love coffee flavored ice cream. Although what's odd is I hate coffee in a general sense, but I love coffee flavored ice cream and other coffee flavored like sweets and stuff.
That's just horrible. You're just horrible. Just fucking horrible.
Well, I am furry trash.
Right then, ladies and gentlemen. I have no idea what that is. Right. Let's carry on. I'm going to end the stream, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this live stream. If you did like what I did, then please like. If you want to know more about what I do, then please subscribe. If not, thanks for watching anyway. Speak to you all again. I hope I made some interesting points of view. I tried to be as honest as possible. I tried to be as non-partisan as possible, though sometimes you just can't help that. As well, it says America first. What do you actually mean by America first? Because I'm sure that you can actually just type what it means. What does America first actually mean? Because by Nick Fuentes' own standard, he doesn't follow what American standards are. I'm just saying, maybe it's something to think about. Using the hashtag America first doesn't actually mean what you think it means. But hey, Rational, do you have anything else that you want to add or to say goodbye to?
No, that just check out my channel if you find my conversation here interesting, and that's about it.
Okay, see you later, everyone. Thank you very much.